Hey everyone, welcome to Photography Chat, Season 2, Episode 31 with Allister Ann. We'll just get Allister in here and then we will get kicked off with the chat. Hope y'all been having a good week. It's been pretty toasty here and a bit smoky in Vancouver and British Columbia. But here we go. Let's get there. Hey Tim. The kitty just attacked my foot. Um, Hello.
Hi.
Good to see you.
So good to see you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. I'm very excited to chat with you. Really love seeing your work on Instagrams.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is a first, as I told you, so I'm so excited to see all of this in real life.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Like this is I can't remember, like maybe the 50th total episode or so in total since I started this like last year.
That's
And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Eric's on here from California. How's it going, Eric? Got a lot of people coming on through. How's your week been going?
so far so good. It's my boyfriend's birthday today, so we've been celebrating kind of today, which is great. But yeah, I'm in Nashville, so it's very hot and humid,
Nice.
and the fire. It's perfect right now. How is your week going so far?
My week's not been too bad. Nashville is cool. It's been a couple of years since I've been down that way. Um, the only time I've ever captured lightning on film was in Nashville. There's like a crazy thunderstorm happening there one year when I was out there. Um, but I'm up in Kamloops right now, which is a couple hours away from Vancouver in the interior. I'm going to Cranbrook to take some photos for a friend, and I'm just hanging out with my dogs, visiting with them. They live with my ex-wife here in Kamloops, so it's nice to see them. I don't get to see them very often.
Yeah, yeah. What are their names?
The big guy here, this one, this is Pang, and this one, May. And they
Oh,
what's that? Sorry?
they look so happy.
They are happy little dorks. They just turned 12 here, so they're getting up there in age. But they're very good puppies, and um, I miss them a lot. So it's nice to see them the last couple of days.
That's
But yeah, it's been
amazing.
very
I
hot.
actually,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, after you.
Oh, I just say it's been very hot up here in Kamloops though, because this is kind of like a semi-arid desert up here. So it's been like near 40 degrees up here, which is a little toasty.
Yeah, it's nice to be inside. I'm so excited for you and your adventure to come to photograph. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. So I'm headed to Cranbrook, which is about 8 hours away from Kamloops. It's kind of in the Rocky Mountains. And a friend out there, Ferdy, he used to be my bass teacher when I played in music and a lifetime ago. Him and some friends are rebuilding an old movie theater into like a multi-purpose arts facility. And this weekend is like a big sort of pivotal event for them because one of the things that they need to do to sort of finalize the rebuilding of it is they're putting in some new roof beams. So they've got all of the roads shut down around it, and they're going to have a big crane coming in, and it's going to be a big media event. So I'm going to go there and shoot some film for them.
That's amazing. How, I mean, I don't want to go on the subject of COVID life, but how has it been up there?
It's been a little weird, like COVID wise, because there's a lot, like, I mean, everywhere, like the anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, and all that kind of stuff are everywhere. And um, I'd been living in Toronto up until May, and out in the East Coast in Toronto and stuff, COVID was taken extremely seriously, and like we were in some like crazy lockdowns and stuff there for most of it. And then when I moved out here in May, it was almost like COVID didn't exist. It was kind of like a very different sort of world. Um, and yeah, it was a bit different. So
Yeah,
um,
that's now. You would never know that
really,
it existed. Yeah, it's bizarre.
so do you split your time between Nashville and California then, or?
Yeah, I mean, I full time was in Los Angeles up until when COVID hit, and so I would say this last year it's been more so Nashville. But yeah, I'm looking forward to going back to LA and bouncing back and forth. But yet still, when I talk to friends and catch up, it's just not the same city right now. Just I don't know. It's really depleted. I'm going out in 2 weeks for a bit, and yeah, I'm kind of curious to see it with my own eyes. But yeah, I'm so curious where how everyone is around the world right now of just feeling limited right now and just still kind of shaking off not feeling right or not the same right now, but hoping that it's not just me. But
No, I don't think it's just you. Like everything has been really weird through all of this because like I mean like our main like doctor, our top doctor for all of Canada, Dr. Teresa Lamb, just like went on the official notice thing today saying that Canada is in their official fourth wave, and so it's like, you know, because of Delta,
yeah,
our cases are on the rise, but because of vaccinations, it's a very different wave from the other three that we've had. It's a little like because people are more vaccinated, it's not as many hospitalizations and not as many deaths, but it's still prevalent.
hmm
And they're still asking us all to be like vigilant and safe and like wash our hands, you know, wear masks, get the vaccine kind of thing, just so that we can minimize it because, you know, the joys of Delta, even if you're vaccinated, it doesn't mean you can't get it. It just means your chances of being hospitalized are a little bit less. So um, that was
yeah,
definitely a consideration when I was thinking about leaving Vancouver this weekend to go take these photos was, you know, should I just stay home and sort of avoid intermingling with people and stuff like that? And I decided this was something that I didn't want to miss because I would feel like I would regret it a lot later if I were to miss it. So I've just kind of
yeah,
decided I'm gonna do the trip, but like I'm getting a hotel and I'm not gonna really see people very often. So it'll just be like go take photos, stay masked, you know, say hi to everyone from a safe distance, and then go hide in my hotel before I deke off.
yeah. No, that sounds like the smart way.
Yeah, but it's also been kind of tough too because I'm a little pissed with Delta right now because like I mean we're all like, you know, fatigued and exhausted with like COVID and how much it's stolen from us like time-wise and everything. And I was making some fun plans with a friend of mine in Texas to I was gonna fly down to Denton, which is just outside of Dallas, and my friend Armand and I were gonna road trip down to Galveston for an exhibition that Jason Lee is going to be doing at the end of August. And then I was going to,
Amazing.
yeah, it was going to be so cool. Like I was going to hang out with Armand for September basically in Denton because Polacon, which is like a big Polaroid festival, that's at the end of September. So he was like, well, if you're going to come down for the Galveston thing, why not just stick around? And we were gonna go like road trip out to Marfa and like do some cool stuff, like just check out some stuff in Texas. And then when I saw like the case spikes of Delta kind of popping up everywhere, I was like, you know, maybe spending a month in Texas isn't the best idea right now.
Yeah. It's, I don't know, it's almost just like the long term things of life that it's like, granted, I don't know, maybe I'm just a glass half full kind of person, but that there will be that time. It's just still not yet.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but
So what has been like? So you said it was your boyfriend's birthday. What has been like celebrating COVID been like?
still somewhat at a distance. I mean, thankfully, like with our group, or with our bubble. Everyone's been vaxxed, and I don't know. Again, I would say that it's not as if we're very sociable people either. Like we are, but still kind of, I don't know. Like I just remember even when it felt kind of comfortable to see a person, how just, I don't, again, I'm like, I always ask how everyone else is and dealing with things, because I was just, it's like you go through all the motions of just seeing one person in person for the first time. And yeah, and then having, you know, three people together, and just, yeah, it was really lovely though. We were able to have a few beers, and but yeah, just kind of hang out. But yeah, I mean, it's just here in Nashville, it's so lovely outside, and just being able to walk around. I don't know, there's so many beautiful parks and stuff too. So it's been nice. It's been really
Yeah,
good.
I rented the bird scooters when I was in Nashville, and was
How
just
was it?
so it was fun, except when you got onto like the cobblestoney things, and you're like, like that. It
It's
felt
still
like a like rattle some like fillings out or something. But other than that, it was a lot of fun. Like I really enjoyed Nashville, and would definitely love to go back again another time.
You should, man, and let me know, because there's so many new spots. I mean, it's drastically changed too from, I would say, even 4 years ago. So many people now are moving here, so it's, yeah, it's really entertaining. I'm sorry, I'm feel like I'm humbly, but I
No.
got this new little boy, and
Oh,
in my palace, standing not to claw, and how to play nicely. He's clawing.
yeah. I had a kitty attacking my feet a few minutes ago, so I can feel the pain
You
there.
know how it
I gotta say though, like my most favorite part of Nashville, and there's like the thing that I looked the most forward to, was like spending time at the Kid Rock bar.
Wait, actually, Ben, hold on. Are
I
you
was kidding. I
serious,
was kidding.
or I
I
feel
was
like we're friends here, so I won't joke or not.
I was joking a bit, but I walked past it and I was just like, "What is this thing?" It was a little intense, but there was like a rock museum or something that was across from it, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, it was.
There's
I like. Yeah.
which, sorry, you broke out for a second.
Oh, so you're talking about history out there?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't want this to be like a Nashville episode for you, but I there's so much to talk about here. But no, as far as country bars, and I mean, I'll say bars, but even just the country history out here, it's amazing how they still respect it, at least the old world of it,
Yeah,
even though there's a lot of new stuff. But yeah.
that's cool. So, is Nashville where you got started doing photography, or?
Um, so it actually was more so when I was in, I don't know how far to reel it back. It was high school with my dad's Pentax camera. So having that in high school in a dark room back then too, um, that's kind of like where I learned the lay of the land. But I was so adamant about fashion design, and so there was this college called FITM out there in Los Angeles. So I went out there, but it was just it's always funny of I guess I was so adamant about fashion, but yet photography was just a fun hobby to have. And then like photographing your like project that was, you know, due that week, or I don't know, just like friends needing photos, and then MySpace days. So it was just, I always had my camera on me, but never, for some reason, never put two and two together of just thinking that you can actually make this a job. But yeah, I started in LA for a little bit. And then really it was kind of when it switched gears was when I was so unhappy, and just it felt so forced all the time of trying to get a job or just even an internship, and the people he would meet. I mean, I don't want to talk ill of the fashion world, but it's progressed a lot since then too, I feel, as far as independent designers and just kind of ethically building a team and where you source your stuff. So yeah, so I was having a hard time with that. And then photography just kind of whittled its way in. And then I got a job from MySpace, or an offer for a job. And I'm still clawing this sheet. um, but no, it was, and I talked to my mom about it, and I didn't have any money at that point, being a broke college student, and she sold something on eBay to cover my plane ticket. So it was just kind of like that nudge of, let's test the waters and call myself a photographer and see. So yeah, so I did that, and then came back to LA, and I was like, I'm just going to pursue this and call myself one, and see how many people I can con into. It's like that fake it till you make it kind of attitude. And I was very ruthless of thinking that why not. And so yeah, so I moved out here, and then it was just kind of, I don't know, it was meeting, a musician, and then just kind of, they needed photos, and it went from, hey, just, you can buy me lunch in exchange for it, to, wow, this is turning into a real job. And I don't know. It was just like so bizarre how easy it was, because I felt like with fashion, I was just kind of trying to swim upstream, if that makes sense. But yeah, so Nashville is really kind of where it all started.
Nashville and MySpace.
It's funny to talk about, because it's like every time I kind of would talk about Flickr or MySpace with friends, you could almost tell that it's like they're in the conversation, but then also like reverting back to your MySpace profile, and and just kind of remembering that time of music and that socializing. But yeah, MySpace days.
My MySpace was so emo, it was terrible. I was like just this like drunk kid that played in shitty punk bands and took pictures of like other people's bands to get into shows for free. And that's basically what my MySpace page was. For the younger folks that are listening or listening to this later on podcasts, MySpace was like Facebook before Facebook was a thing. Yeah. And it still
Yeah.
exists. Now it's like more for music, I guess.
Is it really kind of coming back? Because I remember hearing that Justin Timberlake was wanting to maneuver it again, but I don't know if it fully
So
worked.
it's still running. I a couple of years ago logged in to my MySpace account
No
and
way.
like kind of like updated it a little bit so it was a little less cringe. But here's the problem. I don't think MySpace will ever be the same again without Tom.
Hmm.
Because like Tom made
Where is
MySpace.
Tom?
Tom took the huge payout and fucked off to like Nepal or something. Like he just like disappeared off the face of the tech world. Oh
I
man,
salute Tom. That was
yeah, Tom is like, one of the few tech guys that didn't want to go to space and build electric cars and shit. So we need more tech
well. At
titans
least it
like
was
Tom.
one of those, right? But the fact that he was so proud of that his ego didn't want to say, I want to create something new and better, that he was just like, I did it. I'm done. See you never.
Exactly. And Tom, I think probably in the history of all like online friend things had the most friends because like everyone was friends with Tom.
So how many friends do you think he has in real life now? I wonder.
Enough. Yeah, probably. That's
You made plenty of friends.
friends, but like that's like an interesting thing too is are these online personas that we have, and like when you look at people that have like tens of thousands of followers on their Instagrams and things like that, but if you were to talk to them, they probably only have like a handful of friends or people that they trust that are like close in their circles. So it's like
Right.
it's a tough thing to look at that because I think like this social media driven world that we live in is a bit of a misnomer for that kind of stuff because like you know we're sitting here on the sidelines being like, wow, that person has like 100,000 followers. Like they must be like so popular. And it's like, they're probably sitting in their apartment just as sad as you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I don't know if, did you take part in Flickr as well? I'm sure you did.
A long time ago, I don't know how to get into my Flickr account, but it has some really, really terrible photos from like when I thought I was a photographer in like the early 2000s. And I don't know how to like get them gone. So it's just like, don't go Google Merlin Boissonneau Flickr because it's embarrassing.
Gonna go now.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, like you were saying, it was a different time because for me, joining Flickr, almost like the Polaroid community, it was just, it became, and maybe it was because it was a different time that meeting people from online was, it felt innocent. I mean, maybe people on TikTok are like, this is like the new Flickr, but meeting photographers from Flickr, I remember that was mind-boggling. And one of my oldest friends, I had met her from MySpace slash Flickr, and it was just so cool to be able to do that. And it's like the internet versus real life, but when you combine the two for something really good, um, I don't know. It's always a good story.
I think it's a great story because like I never had a chance to meet too many photographers off of Flickr, but this might even be like a further blast. Um, there was a bunch of people who I met off of DeviantArt way back in the day who I still
I,
talk to.
I didn't take part in that, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's still around too. And my DeviantArt profile, good luck trying to find it because it has no usernames tied to who I am now, but it's terribly cringy. And I decided to leave it there as like a time capsule to remind me like how cheesy I was as a 20 something.
No, that's good. It's like a diary.
It was a very sad emo boy diary about like, why don't girls like me? Why don't people like my photos more? Now I just post that on Instagram. No.
Right. Oh, that's good.
But Instagram has been great for connecting to photographers as well. Like, I've been very lucky to meet a ton of really great people off of Instagram and through Instagram since like 2018. And like you mentioned, the Polaroid
That's,
community there, and like the Polaroid community was one that I really got connected to through Instagram. And most of those people now are like real life friends, where we're not just internet pals, but like we've hung out in person and text each other. And I can't wait to see them again once all of this shit gets unweird. And just like Pete just joined here. Pete Gamask is here. He is a fantastic large format photographer from Massachusetts, and we've done episodes of this show that we called Large Format Fridays together. And I still have yet to meet Pete in person, but we're pals. Love the dude.
that's so cool. Oh, I can't wait to check out his work. That's awesome.
Pete does some really cool stuff, all large format, and he also just before COVID bought Jason Lee's old Lincoln Town Car that was used for a bunch of his photo road trips, and Pete is keeping the photo heritage of that car alive and continuing to do large format road trips with Lincoln.
That is so neat.
Yeah, it's neat.
That's amazing. What a
Oh, sorry, you were breaking up a little bit there.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that's such a good project. Like that's just I don't know. It's holding on to history, which is I don't know. I guess maybe that's when you know that you're getting old is like understanding now what it's like of the people who paved the way and the elders that it's just that they've experienced those things too and yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, Pete was just saying that he just got back from Kentucky in the Lincoln.
Oh, I bet that was quite sweaty.
Yeah, the East Coast is quite a sweaty place. Like I grew up most of my life in the West Canada, and when I went out east and like experienced like, Toronto and like down to Nashville and then Florida, it was so sweaty in Florida. Like that was it's like why do people live there? It's terrible.
Where was it? Someone said this before, where you wear humidity. Like that's exactly what it is. It
Yeah, it's like
ends
part
up
of your
sticking to you so much.
exactly. It's like when I guess when
Yeah.
you fit your sweat. Like, so what's been
Yeah.
your favorite
Oh,
what's been your favorite photography adventure so far that you've been on?
oh man. Like all together, that's so hard.
Not altogether, but like when you think of one of your experiences that was maybe like most meaningful or like maybe like most humbling or like something that like when you think about it, you're still mind blown about it today.
I mean, I just with life or with a career or anything, you look at, or even just visiting a place for the first time, you look at just kind of looking back on that in remembrance and having that first feeling and just how, I don't know, nervous and just not fully knowing and being naive about it, but like blissfully so. Um, but I would say for me, it was having my first proper tour with the Civil Wars and um, I mean, experience Royal Albert Hall for the first time and like seeing, I don't know, just I traveled a little bit before we had gone on tour together, but not to the extent of the touring that we did and the places that we were able to see um, and just yeah within that the experiences of just meeting people of all walks of life and um, yeah and just meeting fans of theirs and just how their lives were changed it was just it all kind of stuck with me all of it that kind of that became the ripple effect more than anything of just um, yeah, have it just the first. So I would say probably that first tour was really special. Um, if that answers it.
Yeah, no. How did you end up landing on that tour?
um, it was such a random story because I had met them, I had photographed them. Um, it was such a special time. I still love those images looking back on that of just that capsule. But they I want to say they were like, and this was when I was living in Nashville, and they were kind of gaining a name out here, and um, I just kind of knew that there were other photographers around that were photographing them, um, and we gelled well. But it's like it's kind of one of those things as a photographer that it's like when you do a job, you're just excited that you had that moment, and then it just kind of moves on, and maybe one day that moment will create itself again. But yeah, so I uh, shot them, and then I want to say it was probably like 4, 6 months later, um, I got an email from the tour manager's wife, who was a really good friend of mine. I had just moved into this new space, and yeah, she said, "Did you check your email?" And I was like, I have no internet here. I have no idea what to do. She's like, "You need to do it right now." And so it was a coffee shop that was still open. Well, it wasn't open, but their internet was open down the street. And so I just like parked in the parking lot and checked my email, and it was to basically do this tour. And it was them opening up with Adele. And it was just kind of give us a call if you're interested. And yeah, immediately I called, and I want to say it was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. I mean, it was just like ridiculous, but I was just in panic mode thinking that that job was already like came and went. And but yeah, it was really, it felt just unreal, the whole thing. But yeah, it was awesome.
So you did the whole tour with them, or was it just a couple of stops?
So it ended up being, because it was Adele's, I don't want to say it was her first US tour, but it was like, it was right before she exploded, and it was kind of like her first go around of the US on that record. And so I want to say it was probably like 3 weeks long. Um, and it was everything. I was just so nervous. I think it's my personality that I just like always want to be alert and make sure that everything's going smoothly and that I'm in the right place and I'm not in anyone's way. Um, and I remember it was after the New York show, and after that we were driving back to Nashville, and I want to say it was the band who said, "Hey, can we talk to you in the back with, our manager? We just kind of like want to suss a few things out." I'm like, fuck, like I don't even know if I can get fired at this point, because it's kind of like it's over, but or are they unhappy with what I photographed? And then they asked if I had wanted to go with them to Europe, and that was like, I want to say the following month, I think. But yeah, it just kind of, it kept going, and the entire time I'm just thinking they're gonna like get sick of these photos, or I'm totally gonna fuck it up. And it all kind of worked out, and it was just kind of this small group that we wore all the hats to make it work and doing the show. And it was just really, it's so awesome. It was just kind of like a family road trip, that, or a circus in that way, that we were all just kind of enjoying it. And yeah, I think it was a lot of people's first in that way, and at least for them as a band too, because they were both doing their own musical endeavors before they had done it together. So it was just, yeah, it was so cool.
That's awesome. So that kind of led into another question. Is like, how did you end up taking photos of Adele? But there it is.
Yeah. Which, she was so awesome, and I have like so many photos of her photobombing, because I would try to angle it, and I would like put them in seats or something, and she thought it was the best joke to try to photobomb everything. So
So you're like, this is great, but also you're making my job so much harder.
try to like frame her out, but no, it was a blast.
So like for your photography practice, like what is your kind of go-to? Like, do you prefer shooting with digital, or do you enjoy having like film in the mix there, or like, what are the things you're drawn to creatively?
Yeah, I mean, film for me, it's just this, man, it's funny because I try to put it into words, and then I read or listen to like Diane Arbus, and how she talks about film and its magic, and how it holds something that still control, even though you feel as though you are controlling it. There's something still that you don't get. Um, but no, I think that's what for me, doing film was just, it was a challenge as well. So I shot a lot on tour, and for me, naive me, I guess, but I would take it to Walgreens to get developed, and then I would have my scanning bed in the back, and so I would just scan them in, and so it's like to get just the day of that show or have the next day post, but yeah, it was just having the flatbed and seeing, a week later or something. It was just, it was always fun. But no, for me, shooting now, I mean, I don't know how it is for you, but it's just the clients, they want to have it right then and there and know the full control over it. And I understand that. I understand that technology allows that. So of course, but yeah, I still lean to film, and I think I'm so thankful too because uh, I think because the clients who hire me also kind of want to have film done, and so yeah, so it's kind of it's been up until when I met Negative Supply, and they've been working on this meter that I adore, but I was using more so my digital camera is a light meter, and then just to like lock it in and then shoot the film. But yeah, it's digital and film now. But is it for you at all? Are you shooting digital too to like feel good about it or?
So I shoot digital sometimes. I don't hate on it. Like I know that
Yeah,
there's a lot of like analog people there that are like upgrade to film or like they like they poo poo on digital all the time, and
yeah,
they're all tools. And I think like as long as you find a tool that like works well for your creative process and you enjoy creating and you're sharing something positive with people, who cares if it's on film or digital? For me personally,
right.
though, I like the film process a little bit more because even though there's like the step of processing and doing all that, I find my film output ends up being faster than digital because I really hate
Mm,
editing. And so it's like if I shoot
yeah,
digital, I end up shooting like 500 photos, and then I have to fucking sit there in Lightroom and go through and be like, hey, maybe
yeah,
edit. And then with film, it's just like I load 36 shots in there, and maybe I'll shoot 3 or 4 rolls, and I'm just looking at those ones, and
mm-hmm.
always ends up being a bit faster. But it's also just the gear too, and not from like a I need to have these like different pieces, but um, when I first got into photography when I was younger, there's all this gear that I wanted that I couldn't afford. And now I'm old and I have some money, and all that shit that was like super expensive when I was like, in my 20s is now super expensive again because of hipsters, but like 5 years ago it was like super cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought all of this stuff more from like an aesthetic perspective. Um, and so I like shooting film from that perspective too, where it's just like it's a different feel because with the digital and stuff like that, like it's neat to have all those gimmick things and whatnot, but I also just like the tactile feel of like using the older cameras, and which is probably why I like shooting Nikon because like even my Nikon digital still feels a lot like my Nikon film cameras, so it doesn't feel
That's awesome.
like as big a shift. But I kind of like I do throw a little bit of shade at my digital when I do fire it because um, so this is my D7, the D610, and when I fire it, I put poser on the bottom because I feel like it's be a film.
Shut up back. I was trying to piece it together.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
so it's like, and it's a little bit of like a tiny bit of a music theme because my film camera, which is this guy here, shit. Sorry. My life is in low pro bags right now. So this is my main film camera. It's a Nikon F5, and his name is Woodrow.
Oh,
honor of Woody Guthrie, and I wrote on there, "This machine stops time," kind of like, this machine kills fascists. But
Oh,
um,
yeah.
and so keeping with the music theme with the cameras, um, because I feel like a poser when I shoot with a digital, because everyone's used to seeing me with a film camera. I wrote poser on this.
Yeah.
I wrote it in the way that Tom Morello had it written on his hat when he would play live with Rage Against the Machine.
No way. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So a little bit of like a musical connection with the cameras.
Yeah. Now you kind of make me want to go and try to name my cameras. Because I mean, at least like it's like your go-tos of just like what it represents, or even like do you have like the retired cameras too?
Though I don't really have any retired cameras yet, but I do have like the forever cameras. So there's like a small handful of cameras that I will never sell ever.
Yeah.
Um, Woodrow's one of them, and then my 4x5, its name is Rufus, and I will never get rid of Rufus. He's a great camera. The digital, I won't sell it because there's a story behind that one. That one's called Polson. Um,
Amazing.
and I can't remember the other ones off the top of my head right now, but yeah, there's like a bunch that I'll never probably end up selling. This one's like, I'm not sure, but like this is also why I like shooting film cameras, is like this thing, the Texas Leica. Like it's a 6x9 Fuji medium,
Beautiful.
and it's just so big. Like it's like the size of my head almost. And it has like such an interesting feel when you fire it, and like when you're walking around with it, it just looks hilarious. And that's one of the things why I like shooting film cameras over digital, is like, you get a different look with it, and it's just kind of fun. So I definitely enjoy like film from that perspective, because
Yeah.
it's a little bit more interesting. And then it also kind of like it strikes up interesting conversations with people when you pull out these cameras, or like when you're walking around. Like, still one of my
Oh my
favorite.
God.
Yeah, like have you come across that when you're out shooting with people? And
So
like they
many. One of my favorites though was recently I was in Chicago, and I, for me, I love to just always have my Rolleiflex. I know it's just a pain in the ass to walk around with, but then when I get something, I'm so glad I brought it. Because usually I have like my contacts T2, and I can put it in my purse and know if there's anything around. But no, I was walking around in Chicago, and just the light was so beautiful on the river, and there's an art installation, or maybe it's permanent, I don't know, but there's these mirrors up top, and then it reflects the water, and it glistens, and then the people that walk through, it's just absolutely beautiful. What are you doing over there?
taking a photo.
We lost. No, that's awesome. I wish it was one of the attendees right now. Hi, Bree.
I
Uh,
always like to take a couple of photos of the chats when I'm on them.
that's awesome. I want to see those photos. But no, I was walking down this river and saw it, and I was just kind of like getting a few images from it, and just kind of the people walking through with just the lighting. And um, I want to say he was probably in his late 70s, and he had his grandson with him, and he just said, "Is that an old camera? Does it still work?" Um, and so I bent over to show the grandson of what the viewfinder looked like, and he was just in awe of it. And he said, "This is the first time that he's seen downtown Chicago, and this was so lovely to like to meet you and see this camera and know that people are still shooting film." And it's those simple interactions that um, I don't know, that felt really special, of just, I don't know, seeing someone that young that was just so enamored with it, and just this machine.
It's really cool when you get to share those moments with the younger generation, for sure. Um, like one of do you do much Polaroid shooting? Like, do you play with Polaroid a lot?
Funny that you say that. Yeah, I used to, and I legitimately have no idea if I left it on site at a shoot or what, but I used to have my Polaroid 250 and I loved it. And Miss Mania, the RZ67 with the Polaroid back, and I would always shoot on that. And then the second that uh, they said that they were discontinuing it, I mean, I tried to buy as much as I could with what I had at that point that I could afford, but no, I wish I was still shooting with it. It's so magical.
It is a very
You have to
magical.
at least tell me wait,
Tell me which, sorry?
which one is that one?
This is a Bronica.
What camera is that?
This is a Bronica SQAI,
Beautiful.
and I've
So
got
does
some.
that also
Have which, sorry?
have a Polaroid back option or?
You can do a Polaroid back with it. Why aren't you working now? This is the one frustrating thing with the Bronica is it has an electric shutter on it, and they came up with this stupid idea to put the batteries inside of like a little plastic thingy that everyone loses. So I had to like
Wow.
make something like tinfoil and pizza boxes to try and get the batteries to work, but it doesn't always fire. It's kind of annoying from that perspective. But you can't. There is a Polaroid back for this camera, but it doesn't it doesn't always work right. But for Polaroids, what I do like shooting with a lot, um, and it's really fun to give people Polaroids a lot too. Like that's probably one of my favorite things is to give people Polaroids. Is the SX70.
Hmm.
Like these are such a cool one to give people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My pal in LA, you may know, I know that all is last, but Lou,
I'm not sure who
do you
that
know
is.
Lou? Okay, I'll have to send you a link to his work, but he specifically does. I don't know if you're
Okay.
taking a picture, but he specifically does Polaroids, and he shoots with that camera as well. And it's absolutely phenomenal how he's able to just work with
Huh?
natural light with it. But no, I remember probably getting it 10 years ago and thinking that I could try it, and for some reason it just does not bode well with me. I need someone to show me how to properly use it because I don't know why I just get it all wrong.
Like with Polaroid?
Yeah, with that camera specifically, it's like there's a way. It's like the lighting and how he would do kind of, I guess maybe light leaks with it. But um, Laura Taylor, who is one of my oldest friends, who I met from Flickr, she shot a lot on Polaroid, and it was just absolutely beautiful what she would get with it. But yeah, it's a fun one. That's
Polaroid
awesome
is
that you would give it.
okay. Let's see. Maybe it'll work this time. Nope. What the heck?
Oh no!
Man, I think I'm cursed with cameras now. I think. At least this one. I bought new batteries for it right before I left. Fuck.
I heard, I did hear it.
I bought batteries for it right before I left Vancouver.
Not
This thing has just been like, I don't know. I love this camera, but I also kind of hate it because it just hasn't been super reliable for me. But when it does work, I
mm-hmm.
love it. Like it's such a cool camera. It's just that this is why you don't buy things that have electronics in it, kids. The Voiflex though, like that's such a cool one. Like the TLRs, that's something else. Like when you walk around with the TLR, you get a lot of attention with them. But the other thing, I don't know if you've ever really played around with this with your TLR, but they're great for street photography too because you can kind of like casually just have it there and you can frame up a shot and then just like wait for a moment to happen and not look like
Yeah.
you're taking a photo because you're just
Yeah.
like sitting there and you're just like looking around and then like when you see it happen you could just be like click and no one knows that you took a photo.
So I did this just that. That was in Chicago too. I'm waiting to get the film back on that, but it was in, I want to say it was like Neiman Marcus, and it was just taking a stroll, and I didn't see where the mom was, but she had given them her phone, or maybe they have their own, but they were both watching on their iPhone, masked up, and but just identical. They weren't identical twins, but they dressed perfect. They just everything about it was so perfect and very Kubrick-y. Um, but yeah, and they had these
With
really
like the
thick
twins in Kubrick, you
glasses.
mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, it was very much so like that. But they were wearing their masks, and I I looked at my boyfriend because I feel as though he kind of knows when I get in my mode, and he just kind of backs off. But I had done that, and I like circled back around as I was metering, and then I just kind of glided by and got them, just both of them just looking at their phones, or the phone. And I mean, I hope it's like one of those things where you're like, I hope I got it. I hope I got that right second. But
yeah, play with Danny. I hope that turns out too. I'm curious. So that's on a roll of film that you haven't developed yet?
no, it's not. But I'll send it to you when I get it back. Maybe it's just totally me. I have no idea.
I mean, that's kind of the fun with film sometimes too, is like the accidents with it. Um, you know, you never know what you're going to get until you get around to processing the roles and like I made friends with this very old school photographer who's been shooting since like the late 60s and he was telling me this story of when he was in Vancouver in the 70s. He had shot months worth of film in this old Leica camera that he and had just kept shooting and didn't get around to developing it. And when he finally did develop it, he found out that there was something wrong with the shutter in the Leica, and all of the rolls of film were a total waste. Like, not a single worthwhile shot came out of anything.
Oh, has that ever happened to you?
Um, I haven't like destroyed complete rolls, but more often than I'd like to admit, I've popped open the camera after forgetting to rewind, and then you're just like, oh shit, and you quickly close it, and you're just like, I hope I didn't fuck up too many. And you always fuck up more than you want to have fucked up.
Yeah.
Um, there's been that, or a couple of times when I've been loading medium format, I'll fuck up and drop the roll, and it'll like just unspool out, and I'm just like, ugh, so
Oh.
it's all gone.
I mean, that alone, I feel like is worth sharing with everyone, of just wanting to know everyone's stories of that moment where it is like opening up the back, where it's like opening up your dishwasher when it's like midway or something. It's like, or opening, I don't know. I guess because it just recently, it's just like that, fuck. But like, ugh, I hope
So you
something came of it,
you just recently did which?
of opening up a back where
Oh,
I thought the roll was done.
yeah,
So,
that happens. That happens with my F5 all the time because like if I don't immediately do the film rewind after I finish a roll, I'll look and because it says empty when it reaches the end, even if you haven't rewound it. So I'll be like, oh yeah, it's empty, and I'll just go to like open the thing up and then be like, fuck, I didn't rewind it. So I almost
Oh,
need to print on the back of it a thing where it's just like rewind exclamation like because that's been a little bit shameful doing that.
and then every time you do it, it's like, this is the last time. I'm not gonna do this again.
But you turned out good in this one, but I'm a little overexposed.
Oh, that's rad. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. The
Yeah,
colors, it's pretty.
so I've been experimenting with this one. So this guy is actually kind of a very special Polaroid. It's an Open SX70 Polaroid. So there's a project that this guy in Barcelona started where he's been like putting Arduino boards into Polaroid cameras and making it so that you could do more with them. And this is like
Wow.
it's got one of the prototype boards in it for the sonar, and the way it meters and exposes is really cool. Like it's been a lot of fun to play with this camera.
That's so cool. There was it was from a conversation not too long ago, but that uh there's a God, I'm just so bad at remembering names, but it's from the UK and it's the peel away that they kind of brought back.
Oh, the one
You know
instant.
what I'm talking? Yes. And I have some and I need to find another Polaroid land camera because I just don't know where it went. But yeah, I'm so curious. Even with the blue tones, it's stunning.
Well, you could do a land camera, or do you have a 4x5?
I did. So, well, I do. I don't know what went wrong. And I maybe it's from travel, but for some reason it's not shooting off right. Um, and I've already ruined one box of the Fuji 3000 black and white, and I'm so I'm like so bummed about it.
Oh
But
no.
no, it's like I've been trying to figure out like the land cameras. For some reason, they're still really expensive for film, kind of having been discontinued. Um, but yeah, I've been thinking about getting the Polaroid back again, just because I love the framing of it. Um, but I don't know. Do you like the land camera? Have you messed with it a lot?
So I love the land camera. I have a
Yeah.
195 though, which is like um the kind of crazy high end one. So it's all like manual. So this is the 195 here, and it has
She's
no batteries. Oh, geez. It doesn't have batteries or anything on it, so it's just all like you set the aperture, you set the shutter on it, and then you cock it. So there's nothing you really have to worry about from like an auto exposure thing where it's gonna like ruin film at all. Um, I splurged on this one because I have a bunch of pack film left that I want to shoot.
off.
So I picked this one up just so that I could take advantage of that. But if I'm not using pack film in this guy, I'll usually shoot it in the 4x5 so that I'm getting the most out of the pack film because if you're gonna go with like the regular land cameras and you're not gonna buy like a 180 or 195, what I'd really recommend is picking up like a 250 and then doing the battery conversion to make the 250 work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 50 has like a really decent lens on it, but it also has the nice single window viewfinder on it so that you don't have to do like the look in one viewfinder and then do your focusing in the other.
Yeah.
Um, And then having a 250 is kind of nice because if you have a 250 and then you find yourself a nice 195, you can steal the viewfinder off of the 250 and put it on your 195.
That's a good trick. Someone said the NPC is the holy grail of land cameras. Do you know what the NPC?
So, and NPC is a company that was in, I think they were in Massachusetts as well, that was making custom Polaroid cameras. And they made a full manual Polaroid that was very similar to like the 180 and the 195, but it looks a
Oh,
lot more industrial and funky. That was what was kind of special about those ones. They were pretty cool.
that's awesome. Oh, land cameras. I hope that peel away comes back full force eventually.
Yeah, I hope so too. But like even for where it's at right now, um, it's like I don't mind what they're charging for the one instant to still be able to use the cameras and stuff because
Yeah,
like you know, if you're planning like a certain creative thing, like you can bake in the costs of that extra film into that project.
mm,
And it also has like such a cool look to it. I'll send you one of the photos I did with it because the thing that's interesting with the one
please.
inch is it's a new negative and it's a new reagent, but it's an expired positive. So they're using old Polaroid 20
That's
by 20 color positive. So you get this really interesting looking expired look from it. Um, I don't know if you can bleach the negatives though, Aaron. I haven't tried that
that's
yet.
area a lot. My pal Joshua Black Wilkins, who's Nashville based, he showed me that process. And it was
Now,
like mind boggling that it was just like, wow, these are the negative sizes. So rad.
yeah. And the negatives are so cool. Like I've got so many that I need to bleach. Like my partner and I, we just had our aura photos taken the other weekend by this lady in Vancouver, and she used pack film to do them. And the aura photos are like such a cool thing. Like it that was like a neat process. If you ever get a chance to come across that, you should definitely try that out.
Oh, I will. Dude, this is so random, but I was just in awe of it. Uh, this was years ago, but my eyesight is really bad, and so it's just like the normal checkups that you need to do. But yeah, they said optionally you can have your eye photographed if you want to see that, and basically of just catching if there is anything that could be growing, or just stigmatisms as well, of just kind of understanding your eye a little bit better. So they said you have this option, and I was like, I'm kind of curious. And I mean, 2 seconds in, and they have this photo just kind of coming up in the screen, and it looks like a universe. I mean, it's so beautiful, the colors. And I mean, I asked them to print it out for me and send me the file because I was just amazed with it. But it's just for you to see your own eyeball and have that be a camera right now that exists. It just, yeah, it's really cool. Something else to
That is
try.
so. So did you like get the copy of it and make a print or?
I didn't, but it was a small print that they did, and then the file itself. I mean, it's a massive file, but but yeah, I mean, they were just kind of like, this is kind of newer technology, but I mean, it was just kind of like, do you know when you sit and get the kind of like air pushed into your eye or pumped into your eye?
Yeah.
It's kind of a machine that is, and yeah, and it's just like this light that flickers into your cornea, I think. Um, yeah, and then that's it. And I'm just like, wow, I mean, that's science, that's technology, that's everything going in just a beautiful direction. And that's a camera. Like, I don't know. It's cool. So I'm just gonna say
That
I recommend your next eye exam to get that option done because it's truly mind-boggling to see. Eye-boggling.
I bought. It'll be a while because I got new glasses before I left Toronto, and it was a pretty intense process. So in a couple of years when I go to get new glasses, I'll definitely check that out. It would be kind of neat though to like have like a big blown up print of your like eyeball to like have somewhere in your place.
That would be dope. I mean, and also just this is so silly, but where my mind goes of just respecting so much of what gift you have from your eyes and taking care of them and just yeah, I don't know, just yeah, it would be really cool though.
So of your senses, if you had to lose one, which one would you be okay with never being able to have again?
We're talking about sight. No,
Sight, smell, touch.
I would say smell. The idea of not being able to listen to music sounds devastating.
Ooh,
And
or taste.
or what?
Or taste.
What would yours be?
So that's a tough one because I like all of the senses.
Yeah.
Um, maybe, oh man, probably smell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that because like I like being able to touch things, and if I couldn't hear music, I would be like devastated, and if I couldn't see things, equally devastated. So, um, yeah, yeah, smell.
Yeah.
And then it would make it a lot easier when I'm like walking around in big cities and like you pass like, the sewer vents or like, stinky
Or
garbage and you're like, oh, yeah, you don't have to worry about that ever again.
yeah, that's yeah, it's scary. But even again, I always dive into YouTube holes far too often, but the YouTube videos of people who are colorblind. I don't know if you've seen this, but where they put on those glasses for the first time and they're able to see just everything of the world in color. Just that kind of, um, and I guess the way that they describe it of what they do see is more like sepia tone, so more browns than black and whites and grays. Um, but yeah, that yeah. Again, technology. It's fascinating. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. So, Sparks and Bark says you can still taste if you can't smell. And Crom says that he'd be okay losing his sense of irony. Uh, And Aaron says, I think from a scientific perspective, smell would be the easiest to mimic chemically or through some other crazy electrostimuli. So, yeah, if you lost smell, they could probably bring it back with technology, but like robotic eyes would be weird. And I hear like they can do like cornea transplants, but like that would be so weird to like literally be looking through someone else's eyeballs.
Yeah, there is a horror movie about that, and I did watch it. Not good, and it didn't end well for her either. So I don't know about seeing through someone else's eye, but
Yeah, no thanks. That would be that'd be too weird.
yeah.
So when all this COVID stuff finally starts to cool its jets and it's safer to go adventure, is there a place or a project that you've been wanting to do that you've been having to put on hold because of the pandemic that you just as soon as it's safe you just jump right into that?
Paris. That's I would say specifically France, but being able to go back to Paris, that's I'm still dreaming about it often, and I'm sure so many people are where they want to go to, but no, just to be able to go to France, of just people outside in cafes and um, again, it's like that communal feeling of just a city. Um, but yeah, I would say France for me. What about you?
Oh man. Well, I've always really wanted to check out Japan. I've never had a chance to do that. Um, but I miss the US a lot. There's a bunch of trips that I had planned in the US that I had to put on hold because of COVID. So as soon as things are safe, I'd like to get those back on. Like I had trips to like Chicago and Boston and San Francisco all planned out, and of course Texas. I really enjoy Texas a lot. And a bunch of people have been wanting me to come to Nashville again, so that's
Yeah,
definitely on the radar.
yeah.
So exploring the U.S. and like one thing that I'd really like to do again is do another trip this time more with like a project focus in mind of just like interviewing and photographing people along the way on the Route 66 because a couple years ago
Mhm.
I did like a road trip down Route 66 and just found like so many friendly people that were so open and willing to share stories from their lives with this complete stranger, just like completely unprovoked. Like, just pop in at a thing and they just all of a sudden start spilling their guts out. And I just thought it'd be like kind of a cool project to get these like portraits of people with like these little stories that they shared along the Route 66.
Wow, that sounds magical. I mean, and that's just it. There's so many pit stops along the way. And again, it's like going on history of it too, of um, I don't know. I want to say it was probably a few years ago, but when I did it, it was for this book, and um, just the history that's still there in some, I would say, I don't want to say it's like actual stops, but they're more artistic stops. Whether it's like shoes being hung together and just kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just like having the locks on this fence that's abandoned in the middle of nowhere. It's just like these really special things that, um, after accumulating over so long, there's just like so many stories of people from doing that road trip. But yeah,
Yeah,
that'll be so much fun.
that's a cool, that's very kind of like thought-provoking talking to these people and they were sharing all of these really like fascinating stories about their lives and it kind of just struck me that like a lot of these people are getting up to an age where they're probably going to pass soon and they're definitely not like
Hmm.
savvy and sharing all this stuff on social media and I was like these are some fantastical stories that will die when these people do and
Yeah.
like it would be neat to capture more of that sort of like oral heritage of like these little towns and rest stops and the things that happened in them that just kind of disappear as the residents do.
Yeah. And what really made kind of America what it is.
Absolutely. Like there's like even in Nashville, one of my Uber drivers, she was like super cool and like gave me this like history lesson on like the Grand Ole Opry and like a bunch of stuff around Nashville and stuff. And she was recommending all these places. She's like, oh, you should do a road trip in Nashville and like go around all these places and talk to these folks. And it was just really neat. Like the U.S. in some of the smaller regions has some very interesting people that are a lot friendlier than you'd think they would be.
Yeah. Never underestimate or doubt that. everyone is, I don't know. But maybe it's just, and I think that's what I learned so much from travel, is that if you have that open-minded willingness, and as a photographer, I think it's such a good tool um, to practice, is actually approaching and learning people's stories. Because it's one thing to capture someone without them actually knowing it, but to really learn someone and how much more different the image would come out because of that, you know?
Absolutely. And it's also just neat too, like to make those connections because we have become like as much as we've become more connected through all this technology, we've also kind of become a bit more disconnected from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I like about giving away instant photos is like if there's someone that looks interesting, I'll like approach them and just be like, hey, like, would you like an instant portrait? And they're like, what? And I'm like, I'll give you a picture right now of like how you are, because like, you know, your outfit looks really cool, or like you have this like interesting look about you, and it's not something I'm gonna keep. Like I'm gonna give it straight to you, and that's the only copy of it that'll ever exist. And being able to like hand someone like a physical thing that's like, here you go, this is for you. It kind of blows a lot of people away because that's something that we don't have as much of now. Like there's less tangibility in our world. Um, but it also kind of disarms people a little bit more too because I think it just reminds us to connect a bit more.
Oh, exactly. That's really special that you do that. I'm sure that makes so many people's days.
It's been a lot of fun to do it. Like and it makes my day too because I like seeing people get all excited about it, and
Yeah.
you know, especially Vancouver because like it is a bit touristy. So like I'll see like families and stuff together, and you know, I'll just be like, hey, you guys want like, because they'll be trying to take a photo with their cell phone, and I'm like, well, you could do that, or I could take a picture of you guys and I can give each of you your own instant photo of this moment. They're like, what? And I was just like, yeah, everyone gets a photo. Don't worry. We'll just take a bunch of, you guys can fight and pick which ones you keep, but you know, now you can have like a real um, photo from this moment, not just something that languishes on your iPhone.
Right. No, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely been a lot of fun. So, do you have any projects that you have on the go or that you're planning right now coming up, or?
Um, I have a few photo shoots coming up here in Nashville, and then one in Key West coming up, which I'm very curious about. But no, I've actually been working on my personal project. I always have personal projects, just really just for myself. But this one I've been really I don't know. This is the one that I've spent the most time on. So it's been, yeah, a little over a year. It was right when the lockdown kind of began. But when I try to say it out loud, it just sounds absolutely ridiculous, maybe to some. Um, but no, it's a it's so it's a mannequin that I got, and um, for me, I guess self-portraiture is a form of a journal entry, at least knowing where I was at that time. And for me, looking back on them, I remember exactly kind of how I felt or what was going on in my life at that time. But for some reason, I just kind of had this idea, and it came from also this series that I saw. I think it was on Wall Street. That was, I mean, it came out probably 10 years ago, but it was done in the 40s of this mannequin and creating a life that she was of high society and putting her into these situations, whether it was parties, and it's just there's all these people around, and then she's kind of one of the like deviant women, um, you know, and her get up and smoking and getting her nails done and all these things. And I was just so like in awe of that. Um, and then I thought if I used a mannequin as a form of self-portraiture and expressing kind of, I guess, the feeling of loneliness and distance and maybe it was my obsession of the 50s, but I ended up getting a red wig for her. That's a 1950s style wig, and just kind of found outfits on eBay and collected things over time. And so I would just travel with her, and we would do road trips, and some specific for Norma is what I call her. Um, but yeah,
That's
I've
cool.
she's kind of just been this this person that yeah, I've taken her to LA from a road trip and up to Maine and just kind of putting her in scenes that maybe are parallel to what's going on, but also even when the marches were happening and how kind of parallel that was of, you know, the 50s and these conversations that are thankfully kicking up dust again, that it's becoming, you know, it's things have changed, but they still haven't. And
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know, maybe I don't want to say a political piece by any means, but something of just being able to express yourself of um, going through these motions and having that conversation. And so yeah, so that's been kind of something I've been working on. And I don't know what will come of it, but yeah. What about you?
Well, I've got a book that is done. I just
I'm
have to get my shit together to put the pre-order together. It's going to be called Quarantineroids, and it's the
so
first
cool.
53. Yeah, it was the first 53 days of lockdown on Polaroid. Um, it was only supposed to be 2 weeks, and I was like, I could take a Polaroid a day for 2 weeks, and then it wasn't 2 weeks. And then I was like, this project's going to bankrupt me if I keep taking a photo every day of a lockdown because like our first lockdown was like 4 or 5 months. Like it was insane. Um, so I
Wow.
got to 53 days and I was just like, I'm bored of this project. I'm bored of being in my house. But the book is done and that'll be coming up for pre-order here probably in the next month or so. And I've got,
Congratulations.
thank you. And, I did a book in 2018 on convenience stores in Toronto that I'm doing a follow-up book to right now. I'm just shooting that. But leading up to the follow-up, I'm going to do a second, um, like a reissue, a second edition of the first book. But I took a couple photos, new photos that will be added into the second edition, where I went back and reviewed all of the like bodegas that I'd shot for the first book, and there was like 4 or 5 of them that don't exist anymore. Photos of what they look like today, and
Wow.
so that'll be in second edition, where it'll be the photos that I originally took in 2018 with the 4 or 5 new photos, and then probably later next year I'll put that second book out. And then just for shits and giggles, a friend of mine gave me this really like kind of like um, your mannequin that you're talking about there. A friend of
Yeah.
mine gave me this weird dental thing.
Whoa.
He was
That is
like
far.
he was like take this with you and just like photograph it in different places, like doing different things. So it was just like ah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it even has like gums and everything. Like it's so
Oh my
so
God.
weird. So there's some sort of project pending for this guy.
Yeah. No, it's just so nice to hear that because I mean, I know that as an artist, you feeling stuck and not wanting to create and then feeling just confined on top of that, like physically. But still, I'm just so excited to see all of the art, and I know that that's what everyone's been saying along. And it's also been okay for you not to create during this time too. Um,
Yeah,
but to see that it kind of propels um, new sparks of wanting to create in a different way. I'm just so excited to see how it all kind of trickles out for so many people and how they express themselves during this time. I just, it makes me so happy to see that.
absolutely. I'm very curious to see what you get up to with interesting.
Yeah, I really haven't showed anyone except for a few friends, but and my mom. But no, I've only shot it on film, and I limit myself to tops 3 rolls, um, and it's only medium format, and so thankfully every like scene has come out okay. But but yeah, I'll have to show you a few. I'm not in my office right now, but I have them all printed out, and I'm kind of trying how to tell the story with narrowing down the images too. But yeah, I'll have to show
That's
you.
very cool. Yeah, that'd be, well, it sounds like we have a lot of show and tell that we'll have to catch up with on later.
Yeah, very very
So
much so.
are you planning on going back to California at some point, or are you just in Nashville for the time being?
Yeah, this is going to be my first trip since last summer of going back out to LA for like a week and a half now, to do some work. And um, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see friends and catch up. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see that, because the last time I was there was actually right after the marches were happening, and it was just you could feel emotions, you could feel everything, and I mean just everyone. I mean it was just a very strong time.
That would have been a very intense time to be there.
Yeah, again, I'm so glad these conversations are happening. Um, but yeah, that was wild. It was wild to see just kind of my neighborhood with it had just I mean vandalizing a lot of boards that were put up over over shops that were broken into, and um, yeah, that was just yeah, it was just bizarre. Everything was just bizarre.
Yeah, what a year. Well, like the last couple of years. It's weird because like it feels like 2020 didn't really happen. It's just time-wise, I can't believe like it's almost 2022 already.
Yeah, yeah, I guess and this is just anytime I kind of get down about, in your own inner world of thoughts um, again, like not feeling that things are normal or inspired or, your own kind of things. But yeah, I mean, it's like she just good encourager of words of just knowing that it's okay to feel these things and, and not feel guilty for not feeling as motivated as you are and creating workflow in a different form now and um, yeah, it's different, but I
I,
guess we all managed a way to figure it out.
well, and it's also been good that like there's been space for us to start having a lot of these tougher conversations, and
Hmm.
um, for people to actually listen this time around. Like I I've talked about it before on different chats, but I kind of feel that had we not been in a pandemic, I don't know if like BLM and everything would have gotten as much traction as they had if we were in the regular world where everyone was like distracted with all the things. But
Yeah.
we were all home and we were all listening, and so many people got outraged and actually started doing something about it. And yeah, I really hope this can be the actual start for some meaningful change, because we definitely need it. Um, not only in the U.S. but Canada is pretty fucked up in that regard too. So we all have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, always. And I mean, in my mind, I'm always thinking about time hopping and what it would be like if, Martin Luther King was alive. At the Chicago History Museum we went to, there was I went for the Vivian Maier exhibition, which was phenomenal. But there
Oh,
was also a piece. It was amazing, but it was like with Martin Luther King, there was an exhibition. I want to say it's a permanent exhibition there, but yeah, it was the photographs of the marches and everything that was happening in Chicago, and um, it was it was jarring to see how familiar it was of what's been happening. And when they say history repeats, it's just as as a photographer looking at those images, thinking like it's happening now. It's been happening.
yeah, like it has been happening for ages. Like it's not a new thing. Um, and yeah, we are doomed to sort of keep repeating history until we actually face it. Um, and it's also kind of unfortunate that like a lot of this stuff is baked into the way that our societal construct has been built, where it's it's hard to really um, face these racist issues and these systemic problems because they're so integrated into just how our government systems work and how the welfare systems work and all that, where there's just like some inherent racism and how those function and how law enforcement functions and all that. So it's not just a matter of being like, there's racism, we need to end it. It's like, yes, there's racism, we need to end it, but we also need
Right.
to either reform or abolish these racist systems that have perpetuated all of this.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of fun. And then in Canada, we're also facing a lot of issues with Indigenous atrocities that have happened here, like the latest news being mass graves of children that they've found from residential schools. And you know, when this stuff came up just a few months ago, it was like 215 children, but now we're like near 6,000 children that they found in graves, and there's still like another 100 or so residential schools for them to investigate. So I wouldn't be surprised if the number got into the tens of thousands of children that they find in mass graves that were effectively legally murdered by the church and the state to reform indigenous people in this country and make
Unbelievable.
make Canada a safer place for white folks. And so there's going to be a lot of really difficult conversations coming out of all that news here soon. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it definitely it tarnishes the vibe that a lot of people have when they think about Canada being this like super altruistic kumbaya kind of
Very
nation
much.
and people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all sorts of fun, and it's just interesting too, like being a creative and talking with other creatives is like trying to find ways to do more than just be upset or be like, this is a really
Mhm.
sad thing. It's like, trying to find ways with our skills or our privilege or our access to things to help make more of a difference than just being like, well, that's really sad.
Very much. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess that's for me. Diane Arbus was and is a huge inspiration as far as um, her desire of what subjects that she wants to photograph, and especially during her time. I mean, granted, it's um, and it's so beautifully um, celebrated. At least from my perspective, as far as just all walks of life and who people truly are and how they're able to express that, and the way that Diane during that time they were considered as outcasts, and she sought after that. She wanted to meet of what she described as the freaks, because that's what they were told all their lives. And for her to just want to bring that to light, that she saw that as beauty versus, seeking out the movie stars and a familiar face that people viewed as beautiful, or um, I don't know. Um, it's interesting of with photography, you're able, like what you were saying of the Route 66 and meeting people along the way and their willingness of being able to talk to people who aren't used to being talked to, or showing that they're beautiful when they themselves don't think that, and they've never been told that, so it's um, yeah, just I and I've said this time and time again whenever I get on kind of a subject with friends um, about photographing a portrait, is to listen to um, audio tapes. It's uploaded on YouTube, but it's Diane's daughter who brought it to light, and it was um, someone that was attending her class. She taught a university for a while, um, and just, I mean, she knew she was being recorded as far as, the student who would go home and translate it to understand the assignment or whatnot. But she got a hold of the tapes and you can listen to it. And it's just, it almost brings me to tears every time I listen to it. And I try to go back to it often because it's the root of photography. It's bringing to light of what it's all about and having a voice for it. Um, and seeking out stories, and not necessarily in a selfish way, but a selfless way of showing kind of more pieces to the puzzle of our world. But
That's really beautiful.
I don't know.
I need to check out more of her work. Like that, I really like that ideology.
I'll send you the link. It's just, yeah, it's really cool. I always love to hear photographers of um, their inner thoughts of things. It's her specifically and her story. It's just, yeah, it's really cool. I recommend everyone to watch it.
That's very cool. Yeah, if you share it, I will definitely put the link to that when I upload the chat onto YouTube onto a podcast, so people can
Cool.
reference that.
Yeah.
It looks like it's getting pretty
Yeah,
late where you are.
there's so many golden. It is, and I'm sorry, I was gonna turn on some lights, but the
No,
the
that's okay.
natural light went down really quick.
So you're saying there's so
It's so
many like
moody.
there's so many like golden nuggets in that interview you're talking about, or
Just pieces that make you think about it, think about things differently, view the world a little differently.
I like that kind of stuff because it's nice to think outside of these concepts that we kind of get preordained into ourselves, or these like sort of routines and ruts that we get into. Like it's nice to hear new things to kind of freshen things up. And Sparks and Bark
Yeah.
says, Alex, you are a very inspiring woman.
Oh, thank you. I think it's Diane Arbus, but
That sounds like it would have been a great exhibit to see too in person. Hi, buddy.
oh my gosh, I'm sure.
Sorry, my doggo just came up to say hi.
My cat was doing the same, and I think he gave up. He's probably asleep.
Yeah, the cats have been in and out of here a few times, and they don't like that I don't pay attention to them. But the dogs have been napping for most of the chat.
Yeah, I
He just he woke up from his nap. And he's like, "Give me attention."
know.
They're really great. I mean, I really appreciate you spending this time with me because I mean, up until this moment, we were relative strangers that had just talked to each other briefly on the internet. So,
Ah,
I'm very grateful that you accepted my invitation to come spend some time and chat on here with the folks that tune in. And I echo the comment that you're a very inspiring woman.
thank you, and thank you so much for having me. This was a fun first time for me of being able to see um, everyone who was willing and able to watch along with us for this conversation.
Hey, buddy. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Sorry, I think just a sec, he needs to go down. Oh, buddy. Here, that's Ping Ping. Okay,
Oh,
there you go.
it was sweet. I wish I
He's
could have
very sweet.
by as well.
You can't have dogs where you are, or?
Oh no, we can have dogs, but no, I don't know where Laszlo is, but I was gonna say I'd have him come and say goodbye as well, but
Well, again, like thank you so much for hopping on here and spending time with me. It's always nice to talk with another interesting creative person, and you've
ditto.
definitely left me with a lot of food for thought. And I'm looking forward to seeing that link when you do send it out there.
Yeah,
And
no, that's amazing. Thank you again. And I'm so excited to see. I mean, it is like a show and tell. I want to see what you've been up to with the Polaroid
yeah,
project too,
we'll
and this
definitely be
book.
in touch. I'll send you an
Yeah.
email and we'll share some work and notes. And
Ah,
then I've got next week is going to be an early episode, just availability with the guests. So we're going to be on Tuesday, but next week I'm going to have someone who goes by Two Sharp Teeth on Instagram. Their name is Kelly, and they have a really beautiful body of work. And excited to have them on next week. So thank you again,
oh,
Alistair,
I
and
can't
thank
wait
you
to.
for being in. Oh,
Of course.
sorry. I think my internet is a little
Ooh,
sketchy over here.
or mine. It must be going out just like the natural light.
Well,
But
on that
to
note, I
tune
hope
in.
you have a great weekend. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I can't wait to tune into that episode as well.
Absolutely. I can't wait for the chance to record it, and I hope you enjoy it, and that everyone enjoys it as well too. And I hope you have a great week and weekend, and yeah, looking forward to talking to you again in the future.
Yes, very much so.
All right.
Yay! Okay, goodbye.
All right.
Goodbye for
Take care.
now.
Yes, goodbye for now, and
Okay, you
stay
too.
safe out there, everyone. Okay. All right, bye.
Till next time.
Exactly.